Hi, thank you for joining me on Dishing with me, Heather D. Today is Wednesday, and it is time for me to share with you a delicious midweek meal that I believe your whole family will enjoy. And this meal is something that it is very popular amongst everyone. And if your family like chili dogs, then this is the meal for you. And I believe this will be satisfying, and as they get closer to Saturday, which is the first day of fall, this dish will be used throughout the fall season. And it is something that is easy to prepare. And like I said, I know your family will enjoy this. So come on and follow me and I'll show you. Okay, for my ground beef, I'm going to go ahead and just season this with a little bit of pepper. And this is some ground black pepper, and it's probably about a good 1 teaspoon. I like my meat to be a little bit spicy. I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of salt, and that's about a good teaspoon. I'm just eyeballing it, and you can season this to taste as much. This is about a good 1.5 to 2 pounds of ground beef that I'm using. And I'm also going to sprinkle in a little bit of garlic powder, and that's about a good 1/2 teaspoon. And then I'm going to mix this all together. Okay, as you can see, I mixed up my ground beef all nice and neat. And I'm going to now place this inside my skillet. And I have my skillet preheating at about a good medium-high heat. I'm not going to add any oil because the oils and the fat from the ground beef is going to release itself as it heats up. And this chili casserole, chili dog casserole, like I said, is going to be a really good midweek meal for your family. And I'm going to go ahead and add my diced or chopped up red onions, or purple onions, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to let this all cook together. And I'm going to let this cook together for about a good 3 to 4 minutes until they start getting brown. Now that my ground beef has pretty much cooked through, not completely because you can still see some of the pink marks, I'm going to go ahead and add my hot dogs. Now I chopped up my hot dogs while the ground beef was cooking, and I'm just going to go ahead. This is 1 pack of hot dogs, and I'm going to go ahead and just add that to the meat, and I'm going to let that cook as well. And I'm going to let this all cook together for about a good 5 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to let this cook together before we start adding our extra ingredients. Okay, now the ground beef and the hot dogs have been cooking about a good 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm just stirring these all together. And now is to make the chili part, which is my version of a really quick fix chili. Now the seasonings that I'm adding is because I like to control my salt content as much as possible. So you can either buy the chili seasoning packs, or you can use the ingredients, which will be listed and posted on my Instagram and Facebook page. As what I use to make my chili have its nice good flavor. Now if you notice, I'm not using a skillet, I'm using kind of like a bigger pot, and the whole idea was to use a 1 pot, make this into a 1 pot dish. As I was adding my ingredients, I realized that my skillet was not big enough, so I had to transfer it into another pot. And this is oven safe. It's my Copper Chef. I'm not a spokesperson or anything, but this Copper Chef is good for the oven and for your stove. So when making this dish, try to find something that will be useful to go into your oven as well as on top of your stove, so that way you don't have that many dishes. So right now, as my hot dogs and ground beef is stirring up, I'm going to go ahead and add some salsa. I'm adding 1 jar, and this jar is a 16-ounce jar. And this is going to be my tomato base for my chili. And I'm using thick and chunky. And like I said, this is my quick fix for a chili. And this is mild. I'm not using spicy. Now, if you want, you can use spicy. For my children's sake, I'm going to go ahead and use a mild. Now, this is 2 cups of beans, but I have 3 different beans in here. I have 3/4 of a can of chili beans at the bottom. I have red kidney beans in the middle part. And then I also have some black beans. So this is going to be like a 3-bean chili. And I'm just going to go ahead and add that to it. And I'm going to stir this all together. And then for my chili flavor and seasonings, I'm going to go ahead and add about a teaspoon of fennel. Just going to do a quick sprinkle. I'm going to add some chipotle chili pepper. I'm going to add a few dashes of that. This is going to add a little bit of spice, so you definitely want to be careful with how much you add. And this is probably about a good 1/2 teaspoon. I'm going to go ahead and add my chili powder, and that's going to give the chili flavor. And I'm going to add about a good 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon, according to how this is going to, taste. You can definitely use what you like. And just shake, 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 shake. And I believe that's probably about good enough. I'm going to also use some smoky Spanish paprika. And this is about a good teaspoon. And then I'm also going to use some ground cumin. And like I said, if you don't want to go through all these steps and using the different seasonings, you can go ahead and just use your chili seasoning pack. And I'm going to mix this all together. And then I'm going to let this simmer. And after this, I'm going to let this simmer for about a good 10 minutes before I taste this to see if I need to add any other seasoning spices or salt and pepper. But look how nice and chunky and delicious that's looking. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and add some more tomatoes if you like extra tomatoes in your chili. My kids are kind of picky with how much tomatoes is in their chili sometimes. So this is, kid friendly if you don't like if your child don't like a lot of, tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and let this simmer, and then I'm going to work on the cornbread while this simmers for 10 minutes. Okay, so for my cornbread mix, I'm going to use this Zatarain's honey butter cornbread mix. I've never used it before, but it seemed like it was pretty good. And according to the package instructions, I need 1 egg, 6 tablespoons of melted butter, and a 1/2 cup of milk. I'm using a 1/2 cup of evaporated milk, but I also have my 1 egg, and all I have to do is just melt my butter here. Or use margarine as that fill in the gap. My butter is frozen and I didn't feel like taking it out the refrigerator. Out the freezer. For extra flavor for my cornbread, I'm going to add a little bit of chili powder. Probably about a good 1 teaspoon. And I'm going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes. It's going to give it a little bit of a spice kick and some black pepper. Okay, let me melt my butter and let's get this going. Okay, so the package is small compared to this big old box. So I thought it was going to be a full box, but, looks can be deceiving. So here I have my package of my Zatarain honey butter cornbread mix. And I have my 1/2 cup of milk. I'm adding my 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. A few dashes of chili powder. And for a little bit of extra kick, I'm going to add a little bit of a dash of red pepper flakes. And I also have my melted butter or margarine. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this all up. And then I'm going to add my 1 egg. Hey, I did it without adding any shells. One-handed. Woohoo! So I'm going to add my 1 egg. And I'm going to mix this all together and see what we come up with. Okay, so I mixed up my cornmeal mixture, and so far the texture of it looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and add just a little pinch of sugar, and this is probably about a half a teaspoon, close to a teaspoon. I'm going to mix that in because I kind of like my cornmeal to be a little sweet. The package did say honey butter cornbread mixture, but this is just in case, to add in that extra sweetness. Now you can also add cream corn to this or whole kernels of corn if you want a little bit of a texture for your cornmeal. I forgot to mention that while I was mixing up my cornmeal mix, I had my oven preheated to 400 degrees, so that way I can go ahead and put everything in there and won't have to wait very long. So now that this is all well incorporated, it is ready to be on top of our chili dog casserole. But there's one more ingredient that I forgot to mention we have to add to this, and let's see what that is. Okay, this chili dog mixture came out pretty good. It has a nice pretty consistency, and when I tasted it, it didn't need any extra salt or any seasoning, so I added the right amount. Now to top this off with a little bit of cheese. Yes, I said cheese. And this is about a little bit more than a cup. I think it's about a cup and a quarter, but you can add according to how much you like. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle this all around and get this all out, spread it out as even as possible. Now we're going to add our cornbread on top of this, and we're going to let this bake in the oven. Now this is how it looks with the cornbread mixture on top of the chili, the cheese, and the hot dogs. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit more cheese on top of that cornmeal. And I'm going to let this bake in the oven until that cornbread is completely done. So I'm going to let this bake for about a good 20-25 minutes. Now, of course, some of you might feel, well, this meal don't seem like it's pretty quick, like, you know, I said in the beginning. But if you think about it, if you go into a restaurant and you go ahead and you sit down and have a meal, you might wait anywhere between 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes before your actual meal come out, depending on what time of day and if it's crowded or anything. And if you go ahead and order a meal, you might have to wait 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour or more for them to deliver it. So why not make you a quick meal at home? And like I said, this is going to go into the oven for about a good 20-25 minutes, and until this cornbread on top will be nice golden brown. All right, let's see how this turns out. I can't wait. Okay, as you can see, the cornbread is completely done, and there's still juice from the chili that is under there. And so I'm going to go ahead and let this rest. If you don't like your cornbread this brown, you can let your cornbread cook for 20 minutes. I let mine go for 25 minutes because I like a little brown crust on top. But I'm going to go ahead and let this rest for about 5 minutes. And then we're going to serve this up and see how this tastes. I can't wait. Okay, now that I've let it cool off for about a good 5 or 10 minutes, now it's time to cut or break into it. Ooh, look at that. Look at that chili and the cornbread. Oh, I think this casserole came out pretty good. Look at that chili. Get a close up. And it's pretty good looking in there. Alrighty, now to taste. Okay, it's time to taste this and see how, don't it look so good? That chili and the cornbread. And you can see bits of the corn dog. Not corn dog, the hot dog. Look at that. Mm. 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 Oh yeah. This is an acer. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm. That smoke flavor of the chili with those seasonings, and then the cornbread on top. The hot dogs. A little bit of cheese. It's a little bit hot. You can make this as spicy as you want. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Good little cornbread. Mm-hmm. If you like this recipe, please click like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, it is a really nice midweek meal. You can have this with some salad. Call it a day. I can't stop tasting it. I think your family will like it. You can get this recipe off my Instagram page and Facebook page. Dish it with me, Heather D. You all have a great day, and I'm going to finish my meal. Have a good one, and God bless.